We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
That was former U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday after learning that he had won the Iowa caucuses with 51% of the vote.
What a turnout, what a crowd. And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important, and I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon.
Despite facing numerous criminal cases in a multiplicity of states and efforts successful thus far in 2 states and being undertaken in more than a dozen others to knock him off the ballot, Trump's supporters were unfazed. Exit polling data showed that even if he's convicted of some of the crimes with which he's charged, they would still vote for him. What does all of this mean? We go to Philadelphia to speak with Professor Tony Monteiro of the Philadelphia Free School. Tony, what are we looking at?
I think Iowa sent shockwaves through the ruling elite because what they saw is that the movement that is supporting Trump in the 2024 election is growing stronger and more united. Between DeSantis and Nikki Haley, millions of dollars, unprecedented amounts of money, much of it coming from people who are also donors and financiers of the Democratic candidates. Millions of dollars were spent to weaken the Trump movement in Iowa, and it failed. He won 98 of 99 counties, and the one that he lost, I think he lost that by 1 vote. It was a sweep, and it portends for the future something that scares the Democrats, but the ruling class itself. And I want to say again that what we're looking at is not just a political party or the Republican Party in the traditional sense of 2 parties competing for who will win the White House. We're looking at a movement versus the ruling elite of this country. Then we can interpret this vote in many ways. In many ways, it is a vote against the capacity, the people's feeling that the ruling elite do not have the capacity to govern the country any longer. The other thing is that this represents a growing anti-war sentiment in the country, and also against the economic policies of neoliberalism, which has produced inflation and is, grounded in this deindustrialization, which has been going on for at least 40 some years in the country. So, you got the working class on one side and the elites representative of the war makers and of the economic and financial oligarchs of the country on the other side. And the way things look now, Biden, if he runs, cannot win. And if, as seems like it will be the case, the Democrats are defeated, the question is, can the Democratic Party for long exist? Will it break off into many factions competing and fighting against one another? The future does not look very good for the ruling class in the short term.
The problem is, of course, we don't really have a mechanism for a smooth transition from whatever you want to call where we are to wherever we're headed. We got a taste of how the ruling class and the various institutions would respond to an insurgent in the White House last time Trump was president. And the temperature is a lot higher now. The criminal charges against him pile up every time he stops off the plane. Practically, he gets served with another subpoena and criminal complaint. I've never seen the attempt to knock a presidential candidate off the ballot in such a coordinated fashion as they've done here so far in Colorado and Maine, and there's 11 or 17, I forget, other states, waiting to see what the U.S. Supreme Court says. They're not used to being unable to turn some opposition off when they, rally all of their resources to doing that, like they've done for the last 5 or 6 years now. How do we get from here to there in the event that there's going to be, this changing of I don't know, whatever the rules or exchanging some parts of the elite or whatever it is we're looking at?
I don't think I can answer that question, Don, and you're right. But it is a paramount question. How to affect and what will the transition look like? Now, you hear a lot of talk about our being in a pre-Civil War situation. Some call it a cold Civil War. Obviously, those who will be defeated in November will not go quietly into the night. They will try to undermine the capacity of Trump and those aligned with him to govern. And they will do everything, provocations, terrorist violence, and all of this will be done in the name of democracy. As we see, about 18 states have these petitions to kick Trump off the ballot in the name of democracy. The Democratic Party is not holding primaries in the name of democracy. So they will carry out disruptions of the government in the name of democracy. And of course, on the international level, they will take the opportunity to carry out provocations in every part of the world, including against China, against Iran, and on and on and on. Of course, it is a dangerous situation, but I agree with you. Any way you look at it, we're in a process of transition, and the people will have to be mobilized as they are being mobilized. And that's what Iowa showed, a profound level of self-organization and mobilization by ordinary people to say no to the machinations of the ruling elite. And I think we're going to see the same thing in New Hampshire this coming week. And that will be the end of the Republican primary races and the beginning of the all-out struggle to defeat the Biden administration and the war makers, and to begin, in effect, even before the election, the transition to a new form of governance, which is more oriented towards the needs and aspirations of the people. The other thing I'd like to say, this being a movement, there's great potentiality to build unity among the people, including the unity of white and black people. And this is what we see in Biden's low polling numbers. I just saw one recently that said his favorability is 33%. His unfavorability is 25% higher than that, something like 58%. That black people are bleeding. The Democratic Party is bleeding black voters. They are unenthusiastic, and a growing part of them, at least 1/3 of black men are saying they will vote for Trump. Uh, this is very important, given that part of the ruling class narrative is that Trump is a Nazi, a fascist, and a racist. And if black people are saying, well, we don't see it that way, and in fact, we will abandon the party that we have been the most loyal constituents of for the last over 50 years, maybe 60 years, uh, if we abandon that party, the game is over. The party cannot exist. And if we abandon them, if black folk abandon them, we're not going back. And so something new will have to be created. And that's what we're looking at.
Thank you, Professor Monteiro. We'll speak with you again.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.